We have the capability right now to live with our health until the age of 90 or 95. I was headed down a path of just accepting my fate, which was I'd probably die an early death. So I said, there's no way I can live this way. And so I found functional medicine and I used that on myself, and I got myself healthy enough to know what real health meant. We're looking at the root causes of disease way before they take hold and become a catastrophe. There's 20% of actions that you can take that will detoxify 80% of your life.
What's out right now that's popular that you think is just kind of a trend?
Let me just put them into a category so I don't offend anybody.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. So when you think about your health, which measures come to your mind? Do you think about your weight, maybe your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, even your cholesterol? Or maybe you think about the hours and hours you spend meal prepping and working out. The truth is, there's just so many numbers, measures, and metrics that we're told can indicate good health, but the answers often feel complex. So here to answer so many of our questions is Dr. Shah. He was a surgeon, speaker, he even has a podcast, and he's a real innovator who spends his medical career and journey looking beyond standard blood tests and asking his patients and patrons alike to look at health through a more nuanced lens. He's created the Wellness Wheel, knows quite a bit about peptides, and has some tips on vitality. So please welcome someone I've known and appreciated for a long time, Dr. Darshan Shah. This podcast has been brought to you by Laird Superfood. I know it's not fair. Laird Superfood was started in my kitchen, so yes, I'm excited to share it with you. It was started about 10 years ago. Not only does my entire family consume it, but Laird and I work on every product. What goes in the bag, the testing, we have really strict guardrails, but forget all that. It is so delicious. We've got coffees, Peruvian high altitude, low acidic coffees. We've got delicious creamers, bars, greens. But the thing I want to share with you today is our instant category. Now, a lot of times people think, oh, instant. Believe me, not only do we not sacrifice on ingredients, but it is so delicious and so convenient. So let's say you're on the go. Maybe you're working in an office or traveling on an airplane or maybe heading to college. I love our instant category so much because all you have to do is add hot water. If you like to ice your stuff, you can easily do that too, but it's so easy to use. It has high level coffee ingredients with our creamers. We've got instant latte, instant mocha, our latest instant vanilla latte. It is so delicious. I'm not a real vanilla girl, but I love this instant vanilla latte. Why? First of all, we use real vanilla, no natural flavors, no artificial flavors, no weird ingredients. Just incredible ingredients, MCT oils, so really nice for your energy, that sustained energy. You don't crash and kind of get like caffeine up and jittery down. Just a nice smooth delivery. And again, it's so simple to use. All you do is add hot water wherever you are. So if you've never checked out Laird Superfood, by all means, see if what product suits your lifestyle the best. But I want to tell you, I love our instant products. And actually, pretty soon, in about 2 weeks, we're even going to have our instant pumpkin latte for those of you who like that little spicy bit. And if you're not a coffee drinker, I even have instant matcha, really, really trendy, and instant chai. And if you want to, head to lairdsuperfood.com. And if you put in the code GABBY20, so it's LAIRDSUPERFOOD.com. And don't forget to use the code GABBY, GABBY 20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. I promise you will find something that not only you love, but will make your life just a little tastier, easier, and more energized. Well, Dr. Darshan Shah, you're here again. You're a repeat guest. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we were early on. How many years ago was that?
That was when we first started Next Health, like literally I think it was 5 years ago, maybe even more.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And word on the street is you're going to have, because it's a franchise model.
Yeah.
Something like 100 by the end of September.
No, that's
tomorrow.
Is that the word on the street?
Tomorrow, next week.
No, we're not going to have 100 by the end of September.
No, not physically built, but people who are engaged in franchising the model.
Yeah, we'll have 100 by the end of the year for sure. Probably more than that. But yeah, it's pretty incredible, the growth that's occurred in the last just even 12 months.
I want to get into it, but really it's just a representation of something that's going on culturally. The fact that you can have that many people interested to do that. And I think COVID obviously really highlighted a lot of things, but as somebody who is day in and day out in this business of wellness, what do you think is happening that we're sort of, having these places like Next Health that people are saying it's not just your doctor anymore?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So when I was first on your podcast, it was pre-COVID. And so I was just building this business and no one really knew what we were doing, right? Like, I think even like when we were talking, you're like, wait, what is this place a little bit? And so because functional medicine, longevity medicine, it wasn't really a thing pre-COVID. And now with COVID, we see kind of a convergence of a few trends. Number one is people understood that, vaccines necessarily, this might be controversial, are not going to save you. And when you get sick with any disease, whether it be COVID or something else, the healthier you are, the better you're going to fare. Right. And then also during COVID, like a lot of smart people started talking on podcasts because that's all you could do. People like our buddies, Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia and all these guys really brought a lot of attention around health. And no longer was the information to health guarded by your doctor who can, has 15, 20 minutes with you to explain anything. Now you can consume it on your own. And so I think we were just perfectly positioned because I started the company prior to COVID. COVID brought a lot of attention to just being healthy in general. People got more information. And then people just wanted a place to go where they can use these technologies, find a doctor or a medical practitioner to guide them through all of this and put that knowledge to work.
Well, I want to back up a little bit. So you were a plastic surgeon, which I always was so interested in, an entrepreneur, and you've coupled working in health optimization with being an entrepreneur. And I'm just really curious for you, because I have my own feelings about this. How is your definition of health? Like this idea, everyone's like, I want to be healthy, wellness, health. How has that really shown up for you?
Yeah.
The definition today, now, as a dad, as a husband, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is a surgeon who is doing all these things.
Yeah, it's an amazing question and I think I only know the answer because I was massively unhealthy a long time ago. So, not a long time ago, actually, like 10 years ago. And so 10 years ago, I had my son. And I was, like you said, I was a plastic surgeon. I'd gone through like multiple careers in surgery. I did general surgery, trauma, reconstructive cancer surgery, and then finally plastic cosmetic surgery. And each one of those careers took a massive toll on my personal health. And because each one of them required more and more of my personal time, more stress. And then I became, 50 pounds overweight, which fine if you're overweight and you don't have any other medical issues, but I had autoimmune disease, diabetes, uncontrolled high blood pressure, chest pain. I wasn't able to move, all my joints hurt. And I had just become a dad. And so, you imagine being a dad, being able to pick up your kids and throw them up in the air and carry them on your back. I couldn't do any of that.
How old were you?
I was 40 years old.
40.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I decided like I could not be this unhealthy. And first of all, I wanted to be able to enjoy my child. And secondly, I wanted to live long enough to see him graduate from high school and get married. And I was headed down a path of just accepting my fate, which was I'd probably die an early death or at least be unable to, function in my 60s and 70s. So I said, there's no way I can live this way. And so I found functional medicine and I found some cool, technology stuff that was just coming out, specifically the things that you talk about, hot cold contrast therapy. And I used that on myself and I got myself healthy enough to know what real health meant. And so for me, the definition of healthy became a reversal of chronic disease to not needing pharmaceuticals anymore, combined with a feeling that I wanted to wake up every day and tackle the day, a sense of purpose, combined with the energy level to achieve my purpose.
So when your son was born, was it a moment or was it an ongoing sort of, it was coming and you kept having a conversation with yourself like, hey, I'm going to have to do something? What is it that kicked you into the process of taking care of yourself?
Yeah, it was a definite moment. It was like at 10:45 p.m. on December 2nd, 2013.
You mean a real moment?
It was a real moment. So my son was born at around 9 p.m. My wife, my son were tucked away, labor and delivery. Everyone went to sleep. And I was like, okay, everything's done. That was an amazing event in my life. I mean, and we happened to deliver my son at the same hospital they do surgery in every single day. So obviously, like, I knew this hospital. I finished the tucking away of my wife and my kid and the recovery and labor and delivery. And I went downstairs to what's called the surgeon's lounge. Now, have you ever been in a surgeon's lounge before?
I haven't.
Okay. It is where all of the unhealthy crap that doctors expose them to converge into one place. So there are donuts, there are half-eaten gross sandwiches. There's an old pot of coffee that was there from the morning. And I went down there and to grab a donut, maybe some old coffee. And there was a journal there that had an article about mortality and morbidity rates, especially if you had an autoimmune disease combined with other diseases like high blood pressure or diabetes. And so that described me, basically. So I opened this journal article, and there was something like a 25% increased chance of all-cause mortality in 20 years by having that combo of diseases. So I remember that very vividly because it was in stark contrast to what happened earlier that day. Like, I was creating a life. Yeah. And then, like, this was then in front of me where I was like, I'm marching faster towards death than I should be. Those two kind of thoughts, like, really was a wake-up call to me, having them at the same time. And that's the moment I decided, I always knew I needed to make a change, but I was like very lazy and non-committal about it. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment I was like, I must make a change.
This always intrigues me. Yeah. What's the moment that they say, okay, I'm going to make the change? How do they start the process? Because it feels overwhelming.
Yeah.
What were the steps, the levers that you thought, okay, I'm going to pull those?
Yeah. So I actually went to the internet and found a concierge medical doctor in Beverly Hills because I thought, this person must know. People pay him $20,000 a year to like manage their health. So I hired the concierge doctor in Beverly Hills. I saw him for $20,000. And yeah, I was like, I was like, let me just throw money at this problem, right? And so basically he just put me on more prescription medications, like 3 more prescription medications. And, it was definitely, there was no conversation around health. So I just got super frustrated and I started just doing my own research. Back then, right now we live in the world of podcasts. Back then, there were very few places to get information. So I actually went and took a course in nutrition because I knew nutrition has probably something to do with this and I could never figure out the right diet for me. And so I was like, let me just start there. And so that led to this journey of discovering functional medicine immediately after. And this is when Dr. Bland and Dr. Hyman were just starting IFM, the Institute of Functional Medicine. Mm-hmm. And I went to their first or their second IFM course. And I was able to just open my eyes to this world of functional medicine and root cause medicine. And that's what really was a lever that I pulled. So it was really, number one, getting educated on nutrition. Secondly, finding functional medicine and understanding what the levers are from a root cause and pulling all those levers.
So you were on medications and you got off your medications?
I was on 10 different prescription medications. Yep. I got off of almost all of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If someone, because I think a lot of times you seem to have some resolve, about things, but maybe someone is starting this and let's say they don't have a ton of resources. Now information is everywhere, which has its own set of confusion, right? So how do you, when somebody comes to Next Health and they're trying to muddle through, it starts really with a blood panel, right?
Right, exactly.
Just getting a look under their individual hood. Mm-hmm. What if somebody was going to start and let's say baseline, what for you is kind of the most significant blood panel that somebody could at least start with that would give you the best overview?
I'll take it back a step real quick on blood panels in general.
Yeah.
First of all, the blood panels that are normally checked at your primary care doctor are to diagnose a severe problem. Right. It's like you're literally knocking on death's door and that blood panel will tell you you're knocking on death's door. That's not the blood panel that's going to keep you healthy, right? The functional medicine blood panel is very different. We're looking at the root causes of disease way before they take hold and become a catastrophe, right? And so the root causes of disease are inflammation, metabolic health abnormalities, a buildup of cardiac disease over time, hormonal dysregulation. Those are the things that we need to check for. And so there's about 20 different critical blood tests that give you the measurements that you need. I feel that everyone should know at least half of them, what they mean, why they're important, and what the optimal range is. Okay. And then you can kind of go in the right direction.
So when you say optimal range, a lot of times what you said earlier is true. People don't realize that. They'll say, oh, well, you're in the average, but that means you're already in trouble.
Exactly.
For a lot of, kind of traditional blood panels. So
Right.
This is the part, it's not frustrating, it just is what it is. But I feel for people because they want to, but it is hard to get the right help. Is there a way to ask your doctor when they're doing a blood panel to get you a specific type of blood panel that will give you an idea?
Yes, absolutely. So I've actually listed it all out for people. I created a guide with those 20 blood tests, what the optimal range is, why they're important, and how to get there. And you can actually give this list to your doctor and say, I want this.
They'll love it too, right?
Some of them will be like, oh, this is interesting. Where'd you get this from? And some of them will be like, I'm definitely not getting that for you. You don't need it. In which case I would say, find yourself
Fire your doctor.
Exactly. And some of them will be excited to go through this journey with you. And honestly, I found, because I've given this list to probably about over 6,000 people now that can't come to a Nextel. So they want to go to their doctor and start the journey. And what I will say also is that you don't have to get it from your doctor anymore. There are places that you can go. You can even go to a Quest or a LabCorp and ask for these blood panels. And so
you don't need a prescription?
You do not need a prescription anymore. The laws change. You can get them on your own. A lot of places online you can get them too. So you just have to become proactive. And yes, it's going to cost you a little bit of money if you get it on your own because, the doctor's prescription is a way to access your insurance. But I would say try with your doctor. And if they say no, either find someone that'll get it for you or just get them on your own because it's that important because, it might cost you a couple $100 now, but it'll cost you hundreds of thousands when you get sick. And it's better to invest the money now.
Yeah.
So just for your audience, do you mind if I give you the link to it?
I love it.
Okay. It's really easy. It's drshah.com/biomarkers. And it's totally free, gives you the entire list, exactly what you need to know about it. And, I'll give you an example, metabolic disease, right? We hear a lot about this lately. Great book by Dr. Casey Means, Good Energy, talks about this. Metabolic health is one of the foundational reasons we get all the diseases, heart disease, liver disease, brain disease. And so you get your metabolic health right, which is basically your body's ability to handle the sugar in your bloodstream, and you will avoid a lot of the reasons that people get chronic disease. But you don't know that your metabolic health is going awry until you become symptomatic. Symptoms means that it's way too late. And that's for any disease. It means it's way too late, Yeah. And so you got to figure it out way before you get the symptoms. So there's 2 blood tests there that are game-changing, hemoglobin A1C and fasting insulin levels. So if you know what they mean and why they're important, you can optimize for those decades before you get the disease, right? And then it's not that hard to kind of course correct a little bit of your diet, your sleep, your exercise, your movement to course correct those numbers and get them head in the right direction.
You're seeing a lot of really interesting things at Next Health. You guys you're doing all these really cutting edge treatments and dealing with patients and doing all kinds of things. How old is the business now? 6 years?
It's 9 years old now.
Is it 9?
Yep.
Holy cow. Maybe we can just talk about what's kind of the sizzle and what's kind of the science, if you will.
Yeah.
What treatments are you sort of saying just from a kind of rudimentary science? Because everyone will be like, oh, now it's NAD and now it's, all this stuff. And actually NAD is great. And some it's sort of short-term boost versus long-term play.
Yes.
Maybe you could share with me just some of your favorites.
So, at Next Health, we have a lot of technology there, right?
Mhm.
And I almost feel like I wish I could just tell everyone that you shouldn't use any of this until you're at the right place in your life to use it. And so the way I look at kind of our journey with our patients is we get their lifestyle correct first, then we get their functional medicine, root cause medicine right next. We put into place some really strong preventative medicine tactics. And those are like the first three verticals. And the fourth vertical is access to these technologies, right? And so I think the ones that have long-term legs is number one, we know sauna therapy works, right? We absolutely know that sauna therapy works. You have a beautiful barrel sauna out there, and I have one at home. Most people, unfortunately, you just don't have space for it, and they're hard to find a spot for. And if you don't have access to one, you should find one. And the way you find one is either you go to your gym. There's a lot of businesses now out there that offer, sauna. There's Othership in New York, which is great because it's like sauna plus community, which is really cool. We do the same at Next Health. We have saunas at every location. I think if you can find some way to make sauna a part of your weekly routine, preferably even 3 or 4 times a week, game changer. What I would say on top of that is just hot cold contrast therapy is really helpful. I think there's a lot of different reasons it's helpful, but also I think the main reason that it's helpful, a lot of people don't talk about, and that is this concept of being able to regulate your autonomic nervous system, right? And so before you go into a cold shower or a cold plunge or a cryotherapy chamber, if you regulate your nervous system, which means you don't go in there freaked out and just can't wait to come out and just all, amped up, you regulate, get into a parasympathetic state and go into the cold and try to stay in the sympathetic state as much as possible. You're teaching your body how to regulate the connections between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This is a massive, I think, help to our long-term health, our physiology, improves your HRV. We live in a sympathetic state 90% of our day. It's really crazy. And if you can put some regulation in there through breath work, through hot cold contrast therapy, you're just going to be healthier. You're going to live longer. And we know this through the science.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's even a practice of, you step into a cold shower. If you surrender to the cold shower is not as cold.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting thing. And it's even like aggravation. If you think about it in your day-to-day life, you have things occurring and if you lean into the emotion that your impulse is, like you get pissed off versus allowing it to kind of wash over you, to regulate yourself. The cold is really a great practice in that.
It is.
I'll hear a lot of women go, well, it's not good for me. I'm like, nobody likes the cold.
Yeah. I think a lot of women have trouble with it because they think of it as increasing their cortisol levels and they're going to get more stressed because of it. But the reality is it's because you're not allowing your nervous system to regulate before you get into it. And then if you do that, it's actually going to decrease, like you said, the day-to-day stresses because you learn to let them wash over you.
You do.
Back to your other question, like what are the other things that have legs? Then we have more advanced technologies like peptide therapy, which I think is a brand new class of medications that we're just realizing is going to totally take over healthcare in the next few decades. So having some knowledge about those can really be helpful at this moment in time. And then, we're doing the plasma exchange as well, which is another great therapy.
I tried that.
You did?
I did one round of that.
Yep.
So maybe we can go back to the peptides because everyone knows, obviously, and I've had lots of conversations, Ozempic, people are losing weight. But the GLP-1, there are restorative things for organs, for hearts, for all these things. And this idea of what does it mean to microdose these things? So how would somebody get informed? Because you can go online right now and there's a million companies that you can get them from.
Right.
How would we find one if we don't have an access to a Next Health that we know is reliable? Because then it's a little bit the Wild West right now.
It really is. And so what I would say is it's very tempting because you can go online and just buy vials of this stuff. The reality is, I would say almost universally, everyone I see going online and buying vials, they are either getting a product that doesn't work, a product that could be harmful, and no one really guiding them through. They're just kind of DIYing it, right? And unfortunately, these are extremely powerful compounds. And they're natural biological signals that our body makes that even as a doctor that is deep into peptides, I know that we don't know everything about these things, about these meds. So it's really dangerous to DIY it for many reasons, not just product quality, but also the dose, the frequency, the cycling, and looking out for interactions and complications. So I would say, you have to find a provider where you are that can help you through the journey of peptides. And you have to be working with someone that is not just managing your peptides, but your overall health, right? They need to be looking at your blood test, your biomarkers, your root causes of disease, and see, are we impacting them positively, or is there actually some negative impact that's occurring in your blood test, which we do see. We see people on like growth hormone type peptides, for example, they get hormonally dysregulated. We see people on growth hormone type peptides also that get metabolic disease. And so it's like, this can happen, and we can pinpoint it to starting the peptide. So we have to watch. And so I would say you got to find a practitioner that knows what they're doing. Thank goodness most functional medicine practitioners are really into this right now. And so you can find them in most cities. A lot of them do work virtually as well. And just really like making sure that you're asking all the right questions, like where are you sourcing these? Do these peptides have certificates of authenticity to them? How are they stored? That's another big question to ask. So I would say, right now it's a real wild, wild west. And so just work with a practitioner that knows what they're doing.
This podcast is brought to you by Troscriptions. Maybe you've heard me talk about optimizing energy, but optimizing energy without torching your nervous system. So I'm always looking for clean and consistent support that actually works to help me with this. It's not always easy to find. So I'm excited to share with you Just Blue. It's from Troscriptions, and honestly, I've really been feeling it and noticing it as a game changer. It is a pharmaceutical grade 16 milligram methylene blue troche. No stimulants, no sugar, no crash. Something really important for me. I mean, it's this clean energy, but I do not take this unless I'm going right into the light, sunlight, red light. So I just want to share that with you. So you get that clean energy, mitochondrial support, and brain clarity that really lasts. It's called a buccal troche. So it's a small lozenge, and you just place it between your cheek and gum. It kicks in fast, bypasses your liver, and helps you lock into deep focus without that roller coaster of caffeine, or maybe I don't want to have a coffee later in the day that crushes my sleep. So this is what I can do instead. And it's not just mental. I felt it in my workouts, in long days of deep work. I know you can experience that. And it's like flipping a switch. And here's the deal. Most methylene blue on the market, it's not that great. It's either weak doses or full of contamination, but Troscriptions takes it so serious. They test every single batch to ensure it meets their high standards. Every batch is pharmaceutical grade, third-party tested, and dialed in. So right now you can try Just Blue at Troscriptions.com/Gabby, or just use the code Gabby, Gabby at checkout. You will get 10% off your first order. So that's Troscriptions.com/Gabby, Troscriptions.com/Gabby for 10% off. It's clean energy, clinical grade, and you're going to feel the difference. Is there a peptide that you really are just so, like, everybody BP157 for injuries and things like that? Is there one that really feels like a champ for you?
Yeah. I think, just once again, just to like really hone in on what is a peptide, I think we should talk about that first. So
Great.
Peptides are not really drugs per se. Okay. So the way I look at drugs or pharmaceuticals, that these are chemical compounds that are made that have one specific action that you're going after. For example, a statin is lowering your cholesterol. And this is a chemical compound that is not normally made in your body. Like, we're introducing a chemical to your body to affect this. And so there are side effects as well. Peptides are natural biological signals that your body makes naturally and has done so for your entire life and for all of evolution of humanity. These have evolved with us as biological signals. So that means that they have, number one, multiple effects. Number two, effects that we don't know about, But number three, which is most important, is your body uses a signal when it needs them and it cycles them, sometimes circadian cycling, sometimes like seasonal cycling even. And, throughout your lifetime, they cycle as well. And so my reason for saying all of that is that these are natural biological signals that will have incredible effects if you use them correctly. The category that I'm most excited about to answer your question is actually the immune modulating peptides. Because, I was telling you, I was talking to Dr. Eric Verdin this morning at the Buck Institute of Aging, and he is an immunologist, and he talks about how the immune system is critical in the aging pathways. And so it affects everything, your brain aging, your liver, your heart, your muscle, your bones, all of it's affected by your immune system. So if we can keep our immune cells healthy, we can have not just a healthy immune system, which, a lot of people know it helps you fight infections, helps you detect and get rid of cancers, but it can also affect the aspects of aging of your entire body. So you can avoid chronic disease, all of it. So for me, the most exciting peptides are the immune modulatory peptides, which are like thymosin alpha 1, thymosin beta. Those are the ones that I'm really excited about. We're still doing a lot of research on these, but I think as far as chronic disease reversal and avoidance, that's my category I'm honed in on.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's out right now that's popular, like you see it being talked about, that's kind of got a lot of attention that you think is just kind of a trend?
Let me just put them into a category so I don't offend anybody.
Why would you? Who cares about offending people? Everybody's offended about everything anyway.
That's true. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to worry about offending people, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people try to add things to your water and try to convince you that by adding this hydrogen to your water or putting your water through a special kind of filter that makes it makes it more basic rather than acidic, or even some people that say that you can have water that's molecularly lined up correctly. I'm sure you've heard of some of these things that people are trying to sell you.
I have a Vortator in there. I just like the way it looks.
Yeah, it looks cool, but is it really doing anything? I don't know. And so I think, look, at the end of the day, your water needs to be clear of toxins and free of toxins. Mm-hmm. The best way to achieve that is with either a really good water filter or preferably reverse osmosis. If you can do that, you've conquered water, in my opinion. Sure, you can add things to it that you buy that are sometimes very expensive, machines or pills or things, but I don't know how well they work, to be honest with you. I'm very skeptical there.
What have you changed your mind on both ways in the last 5 years about health? Because we're always learning and you're really on the pulse. What did you use to practice that you go, oh, you know what, that one's out? And what did you maybe overlook that you thought, oh, this is a lot more important than I realized?
So I would say one thing I am changing my mind on right now, and I'm kind of like still really trying to evaluate, and you might not like this, but it's really this concept of how much zone 2 exercise you need, And my reason for that is, number one, you need a lot of zone 2, supposedly, right? And so a lot meaning like, if you listen to Peter Attia, he says 30 minutes to an hour a day. Other people say, somewhere about 500 minutes a week. I mean, it's like, I don't have time for that much dedicated zone 2 exercise. And so I'm moving more towards a concept of just constant movement throughout the day, and then having bursts of high intensity training that I can manage in my schedule. And you're shaking your head, yeah, so that's great.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to huff and puff a few times.
You do.
And I think just moving, I think putting, I've really learned that the more we make things like you have to get this, I think it's impossible.
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree.
So where do you seek out to do you do like this is your own case study of one and then you're sort of asking friends? Like, how are you willing to depart? Because, you get, like you brought up Attia, it's like, I'm sure there's data, I'm sure there's all kinds of things. Because when I hear that, I go, nobody can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty much how I feel.
That's the reality of it. Like no one, who's going to do that? Like, I mean, it's very hard to get that much time in your day. And so the way I talk to my clients about it, because I talk to a lot of patients, and it's just like, okay, let's just start with what's realistic. I'm not even going to give you any advice until you tell me what's realistic in your life. How many minutes can you give me a day, a week? Give me the structure of your life and let's see what we can fit in. And so most people, believe it or not, will be able to fit in 3 hours a week of exercise. And so we just try to get them. My first priority usually is strength training. My second priority is some high huffing and puffing, like you mentioned. And then if you have extra time, go for a walk, go for a hike, and try to combine that zone 2 into just something that's also beneficial to your mood, to being out in nature, etc.
What about the other way? What about something that you kind of maybe poo-pooed, but that you go, man, this practice, this supplement is really showing up as something that's important?
So it's not a supplement, even though I do take supplements, but I do believe in a lot of them. But I think that, the supplement thing is probably 10% of the equation. But to answer your question, what I would say is something that is really taking up a lot of my brain space right now is this whole concept of avoiding toxins in our day-to-day life. I'm really starting to believe that toxic exposure is the fourth leg of the stool, if you will, after exercise, sleep, and nutrition. That is just as important as those three. And to a lot of people, it might seem overwhelming because, we live in a soup of toxicity all day long, but it doesn't have to be. It's the Pareto principle definitely applies. There's some actions that you can take that will detoxify 80% of your life. There's 20% of actions that you can take that'll detoxify you 80%. And then you can kind of go down the rabbit hole after that if you want to, but you should at least do those 20% actions.
So your house cleaners, your laundry cleaners, your water, the makeup for women, the makeup I learned the other day, how toxic mascara is, all these things. So how would you get somebody, because that's the problem. I think people shut down because it does feel so overwhelming. So how are you getting yourself and your patients to attack this?
So I do two things. One is I give them the 20%, and then I give them a list of the 80% that they can do on their own time. And so air, water, food, and skin is how I divide it. With your air, where do you spend the most time? Probably in your bedroom at night, in your office where you work all day. If the air quality index on your weather app on your phone is good and then green, open the windows. If they're not, turn on your air purifier for those two areas. Get 2 air purifiers, one for your office, one for your bedroom. Turn it on if the air quality index is, in the yellow, and if it's green, open the windows. That's air. Water, I said it earlier, reverse osmosis or a high quality filter. Food, eliminate ultra processed food and buy organic. Really understand what organic means. I think that's,
it means
hard.
very little, Doc.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Absolutely. It does mean,
now.
Yeah, it does.
It's like natural flavors.
Right. I know. So you have to get educated, and I can do a whole talk on that. But I think, just big picture, the Environmental Working Group has a great section on what's really organic on their website.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
And then skin.
And skin, so important. We lather ourselves and paint ourselves with toxins every single day until we do one thing. We get an app like Yucca or EWG Skin Deep, and we scan, and we realize that soap you bought at CVS is red in the toxin zone when you scan the barcode. And then you ask the app, what's not red? And it gives you some suggestions, and you buy that. You do that one time and you're done forever. And you just switch your soap, your toothpaste, your makeup to the non-toxic version. And you find the one that you like the best, and that's what you buy for the rest of your life. And then you're not lathering this stuff all over you forever again. Yeah.
What do you do when you have a patient that comes and they actually look great?
Yeah.
But their blood comes back and it's no good. And it makes me think about high achievers.
Yeah.
Because you must see kind of this group that comes in and they're hard charging and high achievers, and they might even look good because they might get up at 4 to get their workouts in, but their cortisol, their hormones, whatever it is, how do you approach them?
So this happens quite frequently, actually, because we do see a lot of high achievers and athletes, and we measure a blood panel, and their metabolic health is a disaster. They have high levels of inflammation. Their hormones are, in the toilet. I think step one is with these people, it's often a very disappointing realization, right? And so they're like, what have I been working my whole life for? I've been I thought being an athlete or being a high achiever and I'm doing all these Ironman and, whatever they're doing is like keeping me healthy. And we just have like a really serious conversation about how, the human body was not meant to high achieve, right? Like if you look at, and you're a high achiever yourself.
No,
so
but
I know.
I understand.
Right. We're meant to have a level of homeostasis. And especially as we age, we have to really lean into homeostasis. And so I've cut out Ironman competitions from people's lives. I've cut out some workouts from people's lives because their biology at that moment in time just can't handle it. And it needs homeostasis more than it needs the exercise, more than it needs the, hike up Kilimanjaro, whatever have you. And so we just have to just get our heads wrapped around that.
Yeah. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
We think we're not doing enough sometimes. And I think sometimes I have a friend who was actually recovering from cancer and he went a more holistic route, but pretty measured and aggressive. And one of the things, and this is an iron banger, very fit. And he goes, yeah, I'm supposed to go on low, relaxing walks. I'm not supposed to be in the gym because my body's dealing with something.
Exactly.
And I thought, oh, that's so true. We always think more is more.
Right.
And reminding people that sometimes good health might come from rest or peace or quiet and not just attacking all the time.
Right. And if you look at our biology, a lot of healing happens when we're sleeping, when we're resting, when we're in a recovery state. That's when your stem cells can actually get to the business of healing a lot of times. And so when you eliminate the waste as well, et cetera.
Can we talk about light? Because the more I learn, the more I realize that is something we're contending with, right? LED lights are flickering all day long.
Yeah.
Blue light it's tough on us. I think it's tougher on our systems than, we realize. And then a lot of us are not getting enough sunlight.
Yeah.
And the important processes that sunlight really helps us, whether it's, setting our creating melatonin, setting our circadian rhythm, whatever that is. Do you have anything in your practice where you are talking about light? Like, I don't know if you can see my light bulbs up there. They're blue because they're plant grow lights. So even though they're white, they're full spectrum.
Yeah.
Do you guys talk about any of this in your practice yet?
Yeah, I mean, light's a big part of the conversation for sure. I think, in my own home, to your point, you have the blue lights. I have these, they're called Ketra lights that we can set them to a really nice, yellowish tone at the end of the night. And it does it automatically, actually, which is kind of cool. But I think the first conversation we have around light is we educate people on first thing in the morning, how to set your circadian rhythm is to go outside physically, expose yourself to the sunlight, expose yourself to the outside environment. It's not enough to just open a window. If you're in an area of the world that you can't get sunlight for whatever reason, you can buy sunlight simulating panels. They're 10,000 lux panels. They're not very expensive at all. That helps set your circadian rhythm. So light and circadian rhythm is one aspect of how light can keep you healthy or not keep you healthy. So what's the other side of circadian rhythm is in the evening to limit your exposure to harsh white lights and, the kind of the office lighting and go to more of a yellowish tone. So, just change some of your lamp bulbs to the kind of the yellowish tone of light. Pretty simple to do that. And then you get your circadian rhythm in better balance, right? And then all sorts of things you can do on top of that, which is, you see all the biohacker glasses and things like that. Now, the light has another function, which is vitamin D. And so vitamin D is not in its usable form until you get exposed to light. Most of us, because we wear clothing and we're not outside, with no clothes on during the time of day where you can make vitamin D, we're going to be vitamin D deficient, right? Yeah. And so obviously, if you can make your enough vitamin D by being out in the sun, I've always wanted to ask you this, is what's Laird's vitamin D level?
It's actually, it's interesting. You'd think he'd be, perfect and thriving. And also on top of it, Laird doesn't even wear sunglasses because people forget the eye is telling the body what's happening.
Right.
It's good, but it's not crazy high. Yeah. There's even been certain times, because you can only really make it, during certain parts of the day, certain times of the year, where he supplements.
So there you go. So if Laird Hamilton needs to supplement, most people need to think about probably supplementing, because vitamin D is
Yeah.
such an important molecule in our body. It's
Yes.
actually like a hormone. It functions in millions of physiological processes, many of which we don't even know. So I'm a big believer in, we talked about supplements briefly, is taking some vitamin D supplements, you
Yeah.
know, specifically vitamin D3K2, very important. And then I would say the last aspect of light is we can biohack light as well. So near infrared light can also increase, if you have a near infrared light panel, it can increase your nitric oxide release, your collagen production, your mitochondria can produce energy better. And so that's another way, if you want to get to like the therapeutic aspects of light, you can get one of these red light panels that can help do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
I love that a lot. Yeah, I personally, I want to get everything through my food, but it's pretty impossible. So I've been taking, the more I've learned about creatine, I took creatine in the 90s, and it was like I had a trainer.
Yeah.
We were all like meatheads at Gold's Gym in
Mhm.
Venice, and I did take it, but I was like, I'm getting bloated and all these things. I feel like creatine itself has changed quite a lot how you
Yeah.
can get it. But creatine, vitamin D, omega, and a multi and some other stuff, but really those are the things I try to stay diligent on.
Those are my core ones too.
They are?
Yeah. Same exact ones.
Yeah. So I think the more I learn, and it's interesting about Dr. Rhonda Patrick's been talking a lot about upping the creatine
Mhm.
because it penetrates a little bit through the blood-brain barrier.
does, yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I mean, there's big studies now showing that people that take creatine, they can stave off cognitive impairment as well. And it's also a cognition enhancing molecules. So I'm a big believer in upping the dose as well, to even try to aim for like 10 grams of creatine a day for men and women.
Yeah.
And, you have to slowly go up, and so you don't get the GI upset. But I find most people can get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned toxins. Do you ever, like if someone comes in and you go, maybe before we start, let's get you to a better position to start, to kind of, I don't want to say detox, because that's a very ambiguous thing.
Yes.
So you have sauna, and then it's like, oh, deal with your gut. But are there certain people where it's almost better to put them on some type of protocol to see if you can clean the body out a little bit before adding all these things? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I think, 80% of the benefit you'll get from, in detoxifying, in quotes, is eliminating or limiting your exposure, right? Because your body is an incredibly sophisticated detoxification system. And it is constantly trying to clear you of toxins through your liver, through your kidney, your skin. Problem is, we're just adding so much, we don't get to catch up ever. And I think it's just, if you focus on detoxification first, you're going to get like 80 to 90% of the way there, and your body will do the rest for you.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that point, because sometimes I think we have to do so much versus just maybe avoid certain things and let your body do its thing.
Exactly.
Since I've known you, you've gotten younger.
Oh, thank you.
No, come
That's
on.
very nice of you.
It's very true. I mean, listen, big time. I'm always curious. You're in the business of optimization of health, of helping people feel their best, and maybe hopefully stave off certain things. How's your personal relationship with aging?
Yeah, I would say that I feel as though, really, for me, aging is feeling great at this moment in time right now, and being able to maintain the way I feel now for as long as possible. And so just having that health span. I was talking to Eric Verdon again this morning, and he said, we have the capability right now to live with our health until the age of 90 or 95, right? And that's massive that we can do that now. So obviously I want to live to 90 or 95 with my health. And so that's an extra 30 years that we've gained just in the last 10 years. Because 10, 15 years ago, people that are in their 60s would be sometimes committed to nursing homes and care facilities and things like that, right? And so I would just say that my personal relationship with aging is very positive. I feel great right now. I feel younger than I've ever felt before. And if I can just maintain this, which my blood tests and my biomarkers say that I'm definitely maintaining, and my habits and routines that I do day to day have a massively outsized impact versus any of the technologies that are out there. If I just make sure I stick to those, I think there's no reason I can't, get there.
This podcast is brought to you by Vionic. I mean, besides my friends and family, I really believe the greatest thing that we all own is our health. And for me, a lot of that health starts from the ground up, literally. So I've always had this kind of love-hate relationship with shoes. I used to be a size 11, now I'm a size 12, and I could find great shoes for training, easy, even if I had to wear boys' shoes. But when it came to everyday life, kind of no chance. I mean, it was like, get the shoes first, find the outfit to match. And comfort usually meant sacrificing style. So that is until I found Vionic. I've been wearing Vionic shoes for years. They feel like recovery sneakers, but they look like chic flats or beautiful loafers, and they've completely changed how I move throughout my day. They just help me feel grounded, supported, and confident. Plus, I just like to look down at my feet and see them. And I want that for you too. And I love that Vionic starts with science. Their shoes are built on something called biomechanics. They finished with thoughtful, beautiful, versatile design. I wear them when I'm with Laird, my husband, my friends, maybe when I'm traveling, those airport feet, how much that can hurt, or just running day-to-day errands. And for me, everything starts with intention. And most days that begins in a movement practice, bringing mindfulness to how I want to move throughout my day and asking, do you feel grounded? And how do you want to move throughout your day? And because just like your nutrition and your rest and your mindset, what you put on your feet really does matter. I mean, there's nothing worse than, those aching feet. So if you're interested in Vionic, use the code Gabby, Gabby, at checkout for 15% off your entire order. All you have to do is go to VionicShoes.com. That's VionicShoes.com. And when you log into your account, one-time use only. Vionic shoes, they're wearable well-being for your feet. We live in a time where, no one's going to get old looking. It's pull, yank. Mm-hmm. I've joked with my daughters. I've said this many times on the show that if my face falls, I would definitely consider getting it picked up. I've avoided doing a bunch of, stuff until then. But if there is one, you see everyone at Next Health, is there any of the internal treatments that really can have a profound, let's not say Botox or Dysport, but like something kind of more body oriented, blood oriented, that you go, wow, this has an impact on people's appearance?
Yeah. You know what I've seen is once we get people's inflammation and metabolic health under control, they just start glowing again.
The skin, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think if you don't feel like you're glowing, really look at that blood panel, see what your inflammatory markers are doing, see what your metabolic markers are doing. And then for women, I think more than men, as far as the way they actually look, I think getting them on a good hormone replacement regimen has been very helpful for some of them, and so I think, there's quite a few women that we have now on hormone replacement therapy, Bioidentical, and that's made a massive difference in just how they glow and look, and they say it themselves,
Yeah, the energy. Yeah. So no one NAD pass for 2 hours and you come out and let's say you're pretty healthy. Let's say I come in. Yeah. I'm pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Would there be like a super saucy treatment that you go, this is pretty good?
NAD is great. I would say IV Niagen is better, I think.
What's that?
Niagen is nicotinamide riboside.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, and it goes right into your cell and allows it to make more energy for you, basically. And so NAD IV hangs out in your bloodstream for a long time and it causes that reaction. LED therapy is also, I think, very beneficial. I think I see a lot of people using LED. We have this clamshell kind of bed that you can get into that has 20,000 LED lights in it. So that can be helpful as well. We use hyperbaric oxygen therapy. You have one here as well. I think that's the benefits of that are great as well.
Yeah, because that's also connected to inflammation, right?
Yes,
so it goes back to that. What about eyesight? I keep thinking, the decline of eyesight as we get older, but I feel like even those lights, there's certain things that can help with our eyesight that it's not completely a sentence
100%.
that we have to have the readers early.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or do you do anything?
We don't do anything in Next Health
No,
on
for
eyesight.
you to help
for
with
me?
your eyesight. Yeah.
No, I'm one of those people. I got the laser eye surgery done, and then I got a lens replacement done later because I was born with just really, not born, but I developed poor eyesight as a kid. But, I think the one thing that I see degrading eyesight much faster than anything else is the use of, our phones and our technology. And so just once again, I think the phones now have this setting where if you're looking at it too close, it'll tell you. And so you can turn that on. Have you used that?
No, it's so funny how we use our technology to remind us.
Yes,
it's
I
like
know.
our wearable to go, hey, take a walk. Oh, thanks. Hey, back off. You're too close. Like, what is happening?
Exactly. It's because we're on our technology too much. That's
Yeah.
a problem.
I have that red filter that you can do a shortcut, the 1, 2, 3, the color filter, and
The
I do
color
it on a
filter.
shortcut. So that's easy. So also to your point about, but I do think that far and near looking is really important for
Yeah.
people. But also they say sometimes the lights can be helpful. Those red lights
The red lights can
to
be
strengthen
helpful
the
with
eyes. Yeah. Every time I see you, you're very even keeled. Do you have anything in your internal kind of toolkit when you're feeling pressure or stress that helps you? I know we were even joking about cold therapy, but that does help you, like you said, regulate your system. But do you have a practice, or do you do anything that helps you stay this?
Even keeled?
Yes.
My kids would not say I'm even keeled very often. But
What does that mean? Oh, in the car?
Yeah.
You're on a work call and they're arguing. I interviewed somebody one time and asked them, they had a huge business. And I said, they're meditating. And I said, what do you do when your kids start bickering and you're trying to put a fire out at work? And he goes, my kids don't argue. Do you know I never aired that show?
Wow.
It's the only show I never aired.
Really?
Yeah.
Their kids don't argue. Wow. How does that
Maybe
happen?
because he said he had taught them to meditate.
Oh.
And I was like, people are already feeling bad enough as it is. And so I had to tell his people that I thought my audience we weren't there yet.
Yeah.
We weren't sophisticated enough yet.
Huh. Interesting. Wow.
But do you have, isn't it great when you blow it? Like, do you know all the things you do? And you go, just stop it. Like you do that weird Tourette's thing that parents do. And you think, I really blew it. And I'm going to have to apologize in about 7 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you have something that really grounds you to that, just that place of peace or a place to work from?
Yeah, and this sounds crazy, but I just discovered breath work, like really discovered breath work about 5 years ago. And I wish I'd discovered it like 50 years ago, but taking that deep, mindful breath in and then slowly breathing out and then using that like 3 times in a row has been like really good for me. It's, to your point about the kids in the car, okay? My kids fight pretty much universally every time they're in the car with each other. And so I've been using the breath work to let them just do their thing, work it out amongst themselves while I keep moving forward in the car with the breathing techniques.
You don't reach back and do any knee slapping or anything like that. That's what we used to get as kids, just like a reach back and slapping of the knee.
I know.
They don't even care if you're the culprit or not. Like you're just all getting it.
Exactly.
Right?
Everyone's getting it. I didn't even know whose knee you're slapping.
For real. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well,
no.
I guess in kind of and coming to an end, I want to ask you about the wellness wheel.
Yeah.
Because that sort of has a start to a lot of this. And so maybe you can just share with people
what it is
that you created. I love the name too.
Thank
Wellness
you.
Wheel.
Yeah. So the Wellness Wheel is basically like an infographic that I created because as I was talking to just hundreds of patients every single month about their health, it gets really confusing, right? It seems like it's an unlimited rabbit hole of advice and things you have to think about and things you have to incorporate. And what I tell people is like, it is big, but it's not unlimited. There's 12 aspects of your health that we need to focus on. They're divided into 4 categories. Being a doctor that's learned now many different types of medicine, those 4 categories are functional medicine we talked about, preventative medicine, lifestyle medicine, and longevity medicine. And I take people through this journey where we always start off with getting their lifestyle in order. That's, nutrition, exercise, sleep. and now reducing toxins. Then we go to functional medicine, which is also maximizing your detoxification systems, but your gut health, your hormone health. And then we move on to preventative medicine. So cardiovascular health, brain health, so avoiding neurodegenerative disease and optimizing your immune system to fight cancer, so preventing cancer, heart attacks, and neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's. And then lastly, when you have all that in place, we move on to the last aspect of the wheel in clockwise fashion, which is longevity medicine, which is all this kind of like new cool technology. And I always tell people it has to kind of be in that order for the most part, unless there's one thing that's really off, because if you're going to do the longevity piece first, is going to have either no effect or minimal effect. You're wasting your money. And if you're going to go into like, preventative medicine first, well, that's fine. We can do that. We can look at your cardiovascular risk and everything, but really the way you're going to affect that is with your lifestyle. Okay. And so we have to like kind of go through this journey, and the journey is very important because it's not everything now all at once. It's not going to happen. No one's going to be able to do that. Not only is it overwhelming, it just doesn't work. And so we have to go through this journey together. It's in the clockwise fashion of this wheel. And what's really cool about the wheel is it's kind of like a flywheel. So if one thing gets better, everything else gets better on the wheel. And that's why, you want to be very mindful about your health and wellness journey. Yep.
When I see you talk about this, I see how excited you get.
Thanks.
And when you're a surgeon and, it's this whole kind of role, and people really look up to surgeons, and you're in a very different kind of type of business now. How was that change for you, going from that type of doctor, different types of doctor, to this type of doctor, and really kind of being on the prevention side of things?
Yeah, I feel like a completely different human. It's really weird. Like I had this entire career in surgery where I was doing incredibly complex surgery that required like millimeter precision of my hands, right? And I had this team in the operating room that everyone, was there because I was there operating, and everyone was there to like be there to support the operation, right? And then I decided to stop doing that completely. And there were many reasons I decided to stop doing that completely. Number one was because, I would say the number one reason I decided to stop doing that completely was because it felt like I was making zero headway. There was never going to be people that did not need surgery. In fact, there were so many people that needed surgery that I had to operate almost every single day, the maximum numbers I could operate a day. And there were even more people that needed surgery. So it felt like this unlimited patient population that it was you just never were getting anywhere in reality. So it's a little bit soul crushing because it didn't feel like no matter how hard you worked, you're never going to get caught up, right? Right. And that's what it felt like. And so now in this new field, I feel like I can give advice to one person, and they can give it to another person, and then that person give it to another person, and everyone's getting better. And so like through podcasts like yours and mine, we can do that at massive scale, give people tools at massive scale, like their blood tests. Like if they download that guide I gave you and they go to the doctor, that can happen at a massive scale and people get healthier. And so it's just like, it's the opposite feeling. I don't feel like my soul is crushed anymore. I feel like I have a purpose. And that's, thank God we have surgeons. Like we need people to be surgeons because otherwise, a lot more people would die. But at the same time, like for me personally, I felt like I needed to make a change where I could affect a lot more people and not feel like there was this unlimited pot of just sick people that was just overflowing. And I saw this happen because I had this transition period of 5 years where I was doing surgery and doing this. And I was talking to my patients that were in there for surgery about how to be healthy. And they did that first and then they didn't need surgery anymore. And I was like, this can work. This gets people away from having to need, procedures. And so for me, it's a much better place for me personally. And, I think back then I couldn't have done this. I needed to do surgery. So I felt like I was really making an immediate impact in someone's life. But this is kind of an evolution of that.
Well, it also feels like the first part of your career was like you being also doing what you thought you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then maybe getting there and being like, oh, and I'm allowed to pivot.
Yeah.
and I'm allowed to extend what I'm supposed to do into
Yeah.
something else.
Yes, exactly. As a surgeon, especially during trauma surgery, I was fortunate enough to be put in a position where I could save lives immediately, right? If you got shot in the chest, I could save your life. And I did this many, many times. If you had a cancer that needed to be resected, I could remove it, keep you alive, and then you can get on therapy and you can survive. And that was amazing. Like, I got lots of hugs and thank you cards and gifts for saving that one individual life, you know? But now I feel like I am able to make bigger impact by improving the quality of people's lives. So hopefully they don't need to get that far. And I just feel like, you know, the impact is magnified in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gut health is very complicated. You know, you hear it's like trillions and good and bad and bacteria. When you guys are tackling gut health, what is the starting point? Because I think people understand the importance of it, and it's just so confusing.
Yeah. I mean, I can simplify it for you. I don't think it needs to be that confusing at all. Yeah.
That's what I want, because I think we all know and have heard over and over, like even your moods and everything is so connected, tied into your gut health. And I think people are like, can I really impact my gut health by, you know, having yogurt?
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, the gut is a lot more complicated than we thought it was. It's not just a tube bringing food from your mouth to the other side and you're extracting nutrients. It's not just that. And your gut is tied into every single system of your body, your brain, your heart, everything very intimately in ways that we don't even know yet. Okay. And there's two main ways that your gut ties to every system of your body. One is through nervous connections through your vagus nerve, and another one is through your microbiome and the signals your microbiome creates. And all that's been there forever, okay? So it's not like anything new happened. We've all evolved that way over millennia. And so great, that's all there. It's super complicated, fine. But really, the reality of the gut is that it's very simple to keep your gut, believe it or not, in a state of health. And that is by doing all the things we talked about. Remove the things that are damaging your gut and add into the gut what you need. So remove all the toxins, such as ultra-processed food, even, you know, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, high levels of sugar, antibiotics if you don't need them. And your gut will automatically start liking you more because now you're not trying to get it to heal constantly, right? And then the second thing you want to do is you want to add to your gut the things that it needs. So what is that? It's fiber. Your gut bacteria need fiber to survive. You want to add some type of like collagen because there's a lot of collagen in your gut. So like bone broth is really good. There's many sources of collagen. Fermented foods can also help your gut. Like you said, yogurt, yogurt with live cultures in it, kimchi, etc. every once in a while. And then, you know, if you are in a state of gut, you feel like your gut is not healthy, see a functional medicine practitioner that can sort through it for you. It's if you have a good functional medicine practitioner, they can pretty simply figure out like what the problem is, right? Yeah. And so that's it. That to me, that's the gut. Give it what it needs, remove what it's, you know, damaging it, and then if it's still off, see someone who understands the gut testing, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Shah, final question.
Yeah.
You're a guy who does a lot of things, and you have kids, a wife. What have you learned in your adult life, because you can only get it through experience, something that really you didn't know when you were younger, that as a husband and a father, some practice or something that you have, it has really been impactful in a positive way, either a practice or something you've incorporated that you didn't know that you do know today?
Oh, that's a good one. You mean for my family?
Yeah, just as a partner to your wife, mm-hmm. or as a dad. You know, I can tell you, for me personally, you know, just learning to listen, for example, without fixing was a really big one for me. and I only knew that through experience. I know we all kind of learn and go, oh, I joke that now that my youngest daughter is going to college, I'm almost have figured out like 3 things about parenting. Oh, wait, I'm ready now. If there was, you'll hear people say, don't take it personal, whatever the things are. But I'm wondering if something has shown up, a lesson that really was powerful for you.
Yeah, I think it's along the same lines of what you're saying is, I think we're trying to rush through life a lot and trying to fix things constantly that are broken. And I think for me, there's one thing that fixes almost all situations is giving time to it. If you add like maybe a little weekend getaway or a drive in the car with no devices or something to talk through and listen and add some time to a problem, it automatically ends up fixing itself. So for me personally, what that means is rather than trying to efficiently solve a problem, instead I just pause, put away the device, close the laptop, and go for a walk or go for a drive or go for ice cream or something. And that ends up just fixing it just by doing that, just adding the time in.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Next Health may be coming to a city near you. They can go online and find out where franchises will be opening. And maybe just remind people all the places that they can find you.
Yeah, sure. So Next Health is next-health.com. And my social media is at Darshan Shah MD. And then my website is drshah.com. And I think those are the kind of the big places you can find me. Yep.
What time do you go to bed?
9.
Yeah.
9:30. Yeah. You too?
Laird is like, he if he could move upstairs at 8:30, yes. And I'm like, I'm not 6, but I end up getting in there too.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Shah, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the things that you are getting done, and I wish Next Health continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's a true honor being
Thanks.
here on your show.
Thanks, everyone.